Well, let's knock out another one of these bonus levels. Which means a return to challenge mode, where progress is pointless. This time we'll be playing Buster's Lanes with an original character, Slam. Never seen a vehicle by that name before. Obviously it's just Mr. Slam. The oldest and biggest of the contestants. He had his treehouse broken. Suspiciously, there was a treehouse visible out the window of the kitchen. But perhaps this is a world where more than one treehouse can exist. Just gotta choose our opponents, effectively at random. There we go, that should be a tough enough crew to take on Slam. They awkwardly drop us right onto some weirdly slanted stairs. Some melty stairs. But here we go. Here's a bunch of recognizable bowling alley stuff. So recognizable, in fact, that the first time I played this level, I was really hit with a big wave of nostalgia. These red and blue seats, the scorekeeper's board. It's been over a decade since I've been in a bowling alley, but I can still smell this level. For better and worse. It's got free roaming bowling balls. Naturally. They've got a mind of their own. They will run into the vehicles. I had a run where I did very, very little of the killing myself. The bowling balls just crashed into all the enemies. And they don't even do that much damage. The enemies were just that clumsy, though. They kept hitting the bowling balls until they died. So obviously I had to scrap that recording. We do need to watch me win the levels. When you get a strike yourself, it spawns a random pickup. And it is completely random. There's no failsafe against it dropping a environmental attack pickup. There is no environmental attack in this level. So you'll just get yourself a useless item, if that happens. And I only know that's the case because it did happen to me. Another loose bowling ball. Really should not be out on the floor. They really should not have an aura of failed transparency emanating from them. We've seen our special from the other side, but when the AI does it, they just stand in place, bounce you up and down. When you do it as the player, you can drive your opponent around, ruin their plans for the day. It's extremely disruptive and probably very irritating in multiplayer games. But the AI doesn't do it mercifully. There's our first death. This level is fairly dangerous in the very beginning, because you've now seen the entirety of it. It's extremely small. This is a tiny little level. So when you cram 5 enemies in the same little area, you are constantly under attack, especially with random environmental bowling balls wandering all over the place. Now there is a cooldown when you get an item after knocking down all the pins, where when you knock down the next set of pins, nothing happens. Just opens up a pathway where you can teleport yourself into the ball return. You are completely vulnerable while you're in the cutscene, where you pop out of the ball return. You can't do anything, but the enemies can do whatever they feel like. And that texture up above is just the texture. You can't actually, like, jump in there or do anything interesting. A very minimalist level. Let's start destroying it now. There is this little area that I didn't show off. Underneath the lanes themselves, with a bunch of beer bottles. Discarded. Poorly maintained, as with pretty much everything in this game. They really enjoyed their grossness. This level, frankly, could have stood to be more gross. In my opinion. I don't know specifically how, but they're creative enough. They could have figured out something. 2 enemies killed in rapid succession. Get a drive-by on Sweet Tooth, and climb up to what appears to be a bar area, but I guess this would be like the shoe rental place, with no details whatsoever. Onto the busted crane machine. The crane still works at least. Got a mystery pickup and a bottle of soda brand beer. The only beer you can drink in public without putting it in a paper bag. Coming out of the crane machine is also a sitting duck moment, which I took advantage of there to kill off Sweet Tooth. And if you drive on top of that folding part of the counter, it folds. And there you go. So now we've seen not just every section of this level, but every portion of drivable ground and all the interactable objects. And it really does stick out as being especially minimalist in this game of minimalist levels. This might be the smallest and least interactive level in the entire series besides the first level of the first game. So you can really see why it was relegated to bonus status. It's still enjoyable for the nostalgia of it all, and provides a bit of a challenge, because of the fact that it only has 2 health pickups, so if you cram 5 enemies in here, in this tiny little space, it can be somewhat difficult to survive. But Slam is excellent at surviving, and very dangerous, so you picked a good vehicle for this challenge. Lower armor vehicles might have actually had a slightly hard time. Here's what the vehicle looks like when it's at maximum damage. The cab of the vehicle and the scoop itself both get snapped in half, making it look really messed up. And there we have the exact moment that I realized for the first time that those weird bars in front of the counter are destructible. I hadn't even thought to try before the AI just crashed through one of them. And I don't even recognize what those are supposed to be. Maybe those have always been in bowling alleys and I just never noticed. Or maybe whoever owned this tiny cramped space before taught gymnastics here. Who's to say? The only detail about this level that I am disappointed they didn't include was the scoreboard itself. That should have been visible and you should have been able to read little joke names on there, references to the characters, and get elaborate strike animations, maybe even a turkey animation. Ah well. This level would have been better if it had 2 more lanes, and ideally like a full concession area and an arcade, but that goes above and beyond what you can expect from a bonus level in a very unpopular entry in the series. Ah well. I'm relatively happy with what we got. And after you've killed like 2 enemies in this level, it becomes hard not to win. So let's get Slam his questionably well-earned prize.
What are you gonna do with that, dirt boy?
Nothing, dirt boy.
Okay, I can live with this. Oh, man.
Well, the driver of Slam may not be much for comebacks, but he certainly is creative when it comes to sadism. That victory of his brings to mind the most disturbing moment of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and marks another big defeat for Calypso. That guy just keeps getting dumped on. Metaphorically. Ugh, they've actually made me hope that Calypso gets the better of the next contestant. But for now, let's sit and think about what we just did for a while.